infrastructure information technologies.
So hello, our business is called Infrastructure Information Technologies, and we are an essential and safe infrastructure. So I will introduce our co-presidents. Lucas.
My name is Lucas Reynolds, and I'm the Chief Financial and Compliance Officer of IIT.
I am Janet Wetzel, and I am the Graphic and Social Media Officer.
I am the Chief Strategic Officer, and my name is Brooke Huizinga, and all three of us go to Lumen Christi.
Hi, I'm Danielle Warfield, and I'm the Chief Marketing Officer. I go to Western High School, and all four of us are from the graduating class of 2016.
So why do we need something like ITT? Well, what ITT does is, IIT does is, it makes infrastructure a lot safer for our world. And the American Society of Civil Engineers graded what the infrastructure was like in 1988 and then 2009, and it is much worse. If you came home with these grades, your mother would not be happy. And we are not happy with America's infrastructure.
So here's just a brief little, product plan. These are the basics, and for the judges, it can be found on page 2 of your little literature. But pretty much what it is a electromagnet that is put into roads. This is called the beta chip, and what they do is they send and receive impulses. The alpha chip, which is a little larger of a chip, it detects these impulses and can pretty much track where they are at any given time. The data from that is then transferred to a transmitter box, and that is sent off to our servers where it is then processed. It is put into a 3D modeling software which would look at the surface of the road, the internal structure. That is analyzed by civil engineers, and then solutions are then put into place. But there's a lot more advanced explanation on page 3, and these impulses are time sensitive and power sensitive. So if an impulse is behind or it isn't as powerful as it should be, there's a warning sign that maybe there's something wrong with the infrastructure in the road or the bridge. And then the mapping software just shows that. That's also the graphic software. But we also need different types of chips, obviously, because on a highway is different than a regular road. Cars go faster, more pressure, whatever. But also a power source, because they are electromagnets, they need electricity, and we would have some sort of green energy that would be put into the transmitter box, and the little alpha chip and the beta chips would be charged wirelessly, and that technology is already in place for things like iPads. And we would like to expand to things other than roads and bridges. We would like to go to railroads and monitor if the rail is decaying or if something's broken. Also, oil pipelines and technology extraction. Oil wells, we probably all remember that huge BP oil spill. This technology would help detect the problem before it becomes as large scale as that. And also gas lines, because that's also a main concern in today is gas leaks and liability.
We will start implementing our technology in Sacramento, California. A small team of the 4 co-presidents and 3 research and development personnel will be the ones working on this. IIT will construct a construction crew to implement this technology. 20 beta chips will be inserted in a patch of road along the alpha chip. A small transmitter box, about 1/10 of what a normal box would be, would also be set up. The estimated cost for all this would be about $200,000, and the Sacramento Department of Transportation has plenty of plans to improve the quality of their roads.
And we also have a bigger vision. After Sacramento, maybe we'll move to the entire state of California, and ideally the entire nation, because we're trying to keep everybody safe here. But we would like to say that the marketing and financial plan discussed in this is for the larger scale, because we have already discussed the testing phase of it.
Okay, needless to say, this is an expensive engineering project. Putting an amount on this type of concept is difficult. After research, however, Infrastructure Information Technologies has a necessary startup capital between $600 and $700 million after a testing phase. Achieving this amount is much more plausible than one may think, taking into account both the product plan, marketing plan, and expansion opportunities. Organizations will be willing to invest massive amounts of money into a project like this one. So this is how we would earn our startup capital. Government infrastructure divisions, private bridge owners, venture capitalists, oil companies, and private utility companies. And each one of these sectors deals with specific types of infrastructure. So gas lines, oil pipelines and extraction, venture capitalists, money, private bridge owners, bridges, and government infrastructure divisions, railroads, bridges, and roads. It is possible, because if you look at this, this graph is almost, it kind of paradoxes what we're saying, but here's the reason why. So government infrastructure and physical infrastructure, so government spending on infrastructure fell after the construction of the interstate highway, so that was in 65 to 70, so that's why it was so high. But this is going to slowly start decreasing. Now, why would we put this graph on there if it contradicts us? Well, because spend a lot now, our plan says, okay, you can spend a lot now, but you'll break even in 10 years. And we can guarantee that because we'll offer a 10-year warranty on our products, and it will reduce the cost you spend on infrastructure from the 100% you're spending now to about 35 to 40% what you're spending later. Okay, our year 1 plan after testing phase. Although these numbers are not definite, they could be estimated to about, after labor, contracting, etc., $10,000 per mile. So an alpha chip, the A chip, would cost about $100 to $200 per chip, and those are every mile. Beta chips are about 15 cents per chip in mass production, and a transmitter box, depending on its workload, is either $100,000 or $200,000 per box. So, since we are a benefit corporation, which is a legal classification which we'll explain later, we chose to use, why didn't we use Michigan? Because we can't, because there's not a law in place that allows our legal classification as a benefit corporation or a B Corp to be in Michigan, so we chose California. And California has excellent transportation, like they have a lot of data. So that's why we chose the Sacramento region, and in that region there are 6 counties and 22 cities. A sustainable revenue plan for year 1. So if put in Sacramento, the system would cost about $200 million to install in those 6 counties and 22 cities. IIT would be able to sustain itself with a large profit if Sacramento were entirely to embrace the idea. Year 1 with Sacramento's total revenues would be $230 to $250 million. Revenues thereafter. Putting earnings and revenues on a conceptual idea is difficult. Construction upkeep and the endless current cycle of pothole fill, fix does not bother construction companies. IIT offers a proactive solution to a seemingly reactive problem. If using just the 6 counties and 22 cities in the Sacramento area, the region spends about $250 million a year hiring contract construction companies to repair problems in roads and bridges. Although we cannot change this $250 million entirely, we estimate that in 10 years the cost can go down by at least 65 to 70%. Costs are, this company though, is not about the sale of a chip. It's not about the sale or implantation of chips. It's about reforming an age-old thinking of the break it, then fix it. How about not breaking anything in the first place? That's our idea. After research, so future expansion to the entire state of California. After research, if IIT were to be able to enact its specific technologies on only public roadways and bridges in California, its revenues would be between $6 and $10 billion on an installation year, and $100 to $500 million thereafter. As an estimate, the product will cost $10,000 per mile to install on roadways and about $20,000 per bridge. These prices include production of the chip, resources, labor, and development. Profits and profitability. This is just too ambiguous to figure even what percent of profit our company would be, but the idea and concept is very profitable.
So first, the chip would be installed, then the chip would gather data sent to servers. At IIT, engineering teams would read and interpret the data. Then the engineering teams would offer comprehensive solutions to the flagged problems, and the comprehensive solutions put in place would solve the problems. It is IIT's goal for safety and infrastructure, and it's the key to our business model. IIT wants to offer not only a safe, reliable product, but also a reliable team with the same core values of safety, quality, trustworthiness on which the company is built. IIT's corporate governance would include the rights, duties, and benefits of employees, shareholders, and leadership. IIT expects to have hired a large number of attorneys due to its legal classification and nature of its products and services.
So we keep talking about what is a benefit corporation. So just like so you've heard of nonprofits and there's traditional corporations. Well, it's kind of a mixture of the two. So a benefit corporation, or B corporation, is a corporate form available in certain U.S. states designed for for-profit entities that wish to consider society, roads and bridges, and the environment, oil pipelines, gas lines, in addition to profit in their decision-making process. Now, we could use this as a marketing strategy to bring other people in, because we're not going to be solely focused on just profit, 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 but more safety, safety, safety. And that's what our values rely on. ITT chose the idea of becoming a benefit corporation around its core values, and there are fiscal benefits too to becoming a benefit corporation, and that is that you can get grants from the government because of your you have to, it's a long process, you have to pass a lot of inspection tests, rigorous scrutiny from the government constantly about whether you're maintaining that corporate status. And there is also another financial benefit, is that IIT's leadership, or us, is protected from lawsuits from shareholders in decisions regarding spending money on unimportant things to traditional corporations. So not maximizing profit so much, but rather protecting our values and our mission.
Okay, so why use IIT? Basically, we have some main core structures that we want to talk about. Safety. We keep talking to you, reiterating to you about safety. Safety is our main priority. This is why we even started, is so that we could promote safety over all of your travel through roads and bridges. Financially, yeah, it does cost a lot to start up, but you're going to save a lot of money in the long run. This technology provides early stage detection of infrastructure weakness. You wouldn't want that, right? It's also environmentally friendly. It does require some electronic power, but the payoff is far larger than the energy invested. If the technology is implemented in oil pipelines and gas lines, etc., spills and leaks will be a thing of the past. efficiency. No more need, like we don't have people time to waste for surveying roads, bridges, and for damage. IIT's technology will scan hundreds of miles in the time a person will take to scan maybe 2 or 3. It's a creation of jobs. If you want to read about that, it's in our binder here, and we kind of already talked about the benefit corporation part of it. So there we go. Next, marketing. Janet's going to talk about social media here, and then we'll go on about our marketing plan.
So it's hard to use social media because our company is geared towards the government, not necessarily us, but we want people to promote the government to want to do this. So our range would probably be adults, and adults would be using Facebook. So we would start a Facebook, but I was wondering if people our age would be interested in it, because by the time we are adults, it would be implemented. So I started an Instagram account, which a lot of people our age do, and I started this on Wednesday night, and within 2 days, we have almost 800 followers. Our age is very, very excited about safe roads because it's going to hurt our cars and cost us money that we don't have, and the government could be spending money on this instead. And this photo, I checked it, it has about 230 likes right now. And that's crazy. So these aren't ghost followers either. They are serious, and they're really interested in safe roads.
Okay, more on marketing. Who we're marketing to, roads, bridges. We're mostly talking to local government, state government, and federal government. This is basically for permission to work on the roads and funding. Bridges, same for bridges. But here, you guys are the general public. The general public is important because you guys are the ones who are going to be driving and dealing with potholes and dealing with the costs. So, like we said, we want to reiterate safety. There is this in your binder, if you would like to look at that. It's just basically a graph of who we're marketing to. It's marketing structure. That's on page 16.
And it also explains why would we want to try and convince the general public, because they control these 3 entities, and then we're helping these 3 entities, so indirectly we're affecting them.
Yep. Some expansive marketing will also go on radio stations, television. We also have a website plan if you want to read about that. That's pretty cool. Radio stations, mostly local news stations, to target our main audience. There's also a future expansion plan in our writing here. It's basically who we're marketing to for railroads, dams, oil pipelines, and gas lines. Branding. Who are we? We want here at IIT people to think of us as we're marketing for you. This is all for you, and to have a safe, happy life.
Competition. Now, there's not anything on the market exactly like our technology, but the lack of it is then a competitor because it tells the public, the government, maybe we don't need this. We believe that once in place, it will seem like a necessity to have it because of how safe the roads, the bridges, infrastructure will be in general. And once it's implemented, we are planning on other people copying us. But we will be better because we've been here since the beginning solely for your safety and not to make a buck off this.
Through and through, our mission is to provide for you, the general public.
I'm throwing my hand up first. This is part of why I love question and answer, because I think there was some stuff that you didn't get to cover.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to try and give you the opportunity to do that with some very targeted questions. Now, your product and service, because it really is a combination, is looking for deficiencies in infrastructures.
Yes.
Roads, bridges, etc. Can you give us an example of how this product would work and what would happen on a road?
Okay, so the software used, so electromagnetic impulses travel circularly. So you have a dot, so almost like a wave. So if you drop something into water, it waves out in a circle. So using that and 3D graphic software, you can triangulate with different microchips exactly where a certain thing would be. So, using our model, say there was like a crack formed there, okay?
Starting to form.
And it didn't start because of something on the surface. It started, say, internally. We'd be able to graph not only the surface but the internal structure of the road using triangulation, so we could pinpoint exactly where a crack would be.
And then what?
And then, okay, so civil engineers, this is in the business model section, so civil engineers analyze, well, what can we do? They give a solution, and then they either sell that solution, or if we're expanded to the point where we want to expand and we have an open subsidiary that deals specifically with construction needs to our corporation, they go out and fix the problem. And that would be under contract, I guess, then with either a local government or a state government.
So I fix a crack before it becomes a pothole.
Yes.
Right.
So
Okay,
you don't have to tear up an entire highway and then shut down more travel to work or to home and make that happen. Like have an hour and a half more drive because you're sitting in traffic.
okay. My second question was, you had mentioned that you had a targeted list of customers for railroads, bridges.
Yeah.
Can you just give one or two very quick examples in those categories?
Yeah, for hold on 1 second.
It's right on that sheet. They're in.
Yeah, local and state, we would have to talk to, for railroads, we'd have to talk to, like rail commissions, for permission to work on there. But we would also target, like independent businesses and other potential investors.
Do you have a couple examples of those businesses?
Like a dam that's owned by a utility, CMS Energy. Go to them, ask them a question. A gas pipeline owned by CMS Energy or used by CMS Energy. Go to CMS Energy. Oil extraction, deep water well. Go to BP, ask them. ExxonMobil, ask them.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, Justine.
Alright, I was just wondering, do you have like a certain standard for how severe these cracks that you're gonna fix are going to be? Because there's a lot of roads out there, and this sounds very, very labor intensive if this is implemented to the way that you want. There's a reason why our roads are so bad, because the bar that it's at right now is so low that the roads are drivable, but it's not the point that like it would actually cause an actual, like, cars can't get through. That's why we haven't fixed our roads and have done them as cheaply as possible. So I was
The
just
average
wondering-
American spends $396 on car repair because of purely bad roads.
Annually.
So that's why we market to the general public. So to say that there isn't a problem, I mean, if we go back to that report card
Wait a
slide,
second. You're marketing to the general public, so as in the people who drive the cars on the roads?
exactly.
Why would we
No,
put
so
the
they
chips in the
drive-
road?
No.
So they,
No.
so they drive their government to support us.
Easy, Tiger.
Alright.
But to the question of how severe, does it
Yeah,
have to
let's
be?
go back to the point.
I would say, obviously, we have to get these fixed first. But once it's in place and the roads are looking a lot better than they are, anything, and it'd be up to the civil engineers, but anything that seems like a major threat within the next couple of years might develop into an extremely bad road, definitely would be taken care of first.
And we built this